CEDAW. The Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women is an international human rights treaty that focuses on women's rights and women's issues worldwide. It follows the following three principles: substantive equality, non-discrimination, and state obligation. This video explains the principle of state obligation. The CEDAW Convention is one of the most widely ratified United Nations treaties worldwide. 188 countries have ratified the CEDAW Convention. For example, Country Z has signed the CEDAW Convention. This means that the government in Country Z is a state party to CEDAW and has agreed to take measures to improve women's status in the country. In a democratic country, there are three branches of power: legislative, executive, and the judiciary. The legislature makes, amends, and repeals laws. It also controls national finances or budgets. The executive branch enforces the laws and runs the government of the day. It is also responsible for the implementation of laws and delivering of services such as education and welfare. The judiciary is responsible for administration of justice and interpreting the Constitution and various laws. Therefore, in Country Z, these three branches must work hand in hand to achieve gender equality. When Country Z ratified the CEDAW Convention, it became a legally binding document. The state is obligated to subscribe to the articles of the convention and effectively implement it as soon as possible. Every 4 years, states have to report to the CEDAW Committee on the measures taken to respect, protect, promote, and fulfill the rights of women in their countries based on the convention. The state has to respect the rights of women. It cannot do anything that violates women's rights, such as enact discriminatory laws or engage in discriminatory practices. The state must also repeal all discriminatory laws. The state has to protect the rights of women. It must ensure that there are mechanisms for complaints and redress, regulate private actors such as businesses, corporations, or even individuals to ensure that they do not violate women's rights, prohibit discrimination, and impose sanctions against discriminatory acts. The state has to promote the rights of women. It must raise awareness of women's rights in the country. The state has to fulfill the rights of women. It must take positive steps and provide enabling conditions, develop capacity of its institutions, and build women's ability to ensure equality. It must also remove hurdles that women face to ensure both de jure and de facto equality. This means that the state also has an obligation to implement temporary special measures. These are measures taken to give temporary advantages to women in order to accelerate women's equality and address historical discrimination. For example, despite schools being built and equipped with teachers in the rural areas in Country Z, it was found that girls were not coming to school. This example is based on a real-life scenario. Upon investigation, it was found that since the majority of teachers were men, and due to cultural practices, the families were not willing to allow their daughters to be around men. Secondly, the family relied on the labor of female children to take care of household responsibilities. In rural areas, families feel that girls' education is not as important as household chores, and she will later be married into another family. They feel it's a waste of resources to educate girls. The state is responsible to ensure that the education of girls is just as important. As a temporary special measure until the environment is corrected, the government should put in place a policy to recruit more female teachers in rural schools and to give the family a stipend to compensate for the loss of labor of the female children. They should also pass laws to make it compulsory for girls to attend schools. Other examples of temporary special measures include reserving some seats in decision-making positions for women. If women make up half of the population, women's voices must be represented in decision-making positions so that their interests are not left out. In summary, the state party to the CEDAW Convention must act with due diligence, which means that the state is accountable for all discrimination against women, whether she is in the private or public sphere. To prevent discrimination, prohibit discrimination, identify discrimination, and provide redress, impose sanctions against discriminatory acts, promote women's rights and equality through proactive measures, and accelerate de facto equality. This video covers the principle of state obligation. one of 3 CEDAW principles.